Good morning, everyone. It is week number 5 in Science 200, and you've got more to work to do on your topic. So we'll take a look at that in just a second, and some more information to go through. So let's see what we've got going on. All right, last week was chapter 4, and it was about determining who your audience is in order to make a really good presentation. Well, why is that so important? Because you've got to understand how much this person knows, these people know, in order to make a really good presentation that is effective and that makes sense to these people, right? So if you're a geneticist and you want to give a topic on a new cancer gene that you've discovered, and you're going before a group of genetic scientists, are you going to have to explain what dominant and recessive traits are? Of course not, no. But if you're going to a 7th grade science class, that would be a really good thing to do because you got to make sure that your audience understands your terminology and also your viewpoint. So you learned about how important audience is and how to determine who your audience is and how to speak to them. This week is chapter 5 in your Sumo web text, and you're going to be learning about biases in science. Scientists are human beings and individuals, and we have biases. These are just built into us because we expect certain things to happen, and sometimes we even want certain things to happen. And you've got to remove that from science in order for research to be effective. I give you the example in my written part of the announcement this week that I was involved in the Pfizer COVID vaccine trial that started in 2020, fairly soon after COVID made its way to the United States. Pfizer started developing this vaccine, and I was involved very early on, and I was given a couple of shots. Now, did I know whether I was getting the vaccine or not? No, I did not, and neither did my doctor. And the way that we were given the vaccines was completely random, and so that it was called a randomized double-blind study where none of us knew what I was being given. And that was true for all of the rest of the participants in the Pfizer COVID vaccine study. Well, as COVID progressed across the country and more people were being hospitalized, Pfizer decided to stop the study and open it up and figure out which participants had been given placebos. And of course, my luck, I had been given 2 of the placebos. And anyone who had gotten placebos then was given the actual vaccines because it was becoming more important for us to be safe than for that study to continue. Plus, they had collected enough data by that point. That was removing biases in science in that vaccine trial by none of us knowing whether we'd been given the vaccine or not. That is just one type of bias. And so you're going to learn some more about that in chapter 5. The example you're going to be given also is the Deepwater Horizon oil spill in 2021 in the 2010, in the Gulf of Mexico, which was a horrible ecological disaster for the whole Gulf of Mexico. And of course, there was human tragedy too because people were killed when the oil rig blew up. And there was just so much oil that was dumped in the Gulf of Mexico and killed so much life and is still causing problems in the Gulf of Mexico. And the importance of this is that the oil company was making some of the decisions, and some of those decisions about how to stop the oil from being pumped out a mile down under the ocean, and how measurements were collected. Some of that was taken away from them by the United States government and organizations in the government because, of course, BP wanted to lessen what looked like the effect of this oil spill because they had bias. They had an interest in this. They didn't want to lose money. They didn't want to lose any more money than they possibly could. and what was the goal of the United States government to actually stop this, figure out what was going on and stop it so that fewer people would be harmed and there would be less ecological impact, which, there still was a gigantic impact. There was oil in the sand on the beaches. I mean, you could walk along and your feet would be covered in oil. It was down in the sand. It was everywhere. It was down in the bottom of the ocean. And it still is making an impact. So read through that because that is a very interesting study in biases. All right, you will also revise your rough draft. I don't know why I have B down there, but anyway, you'll also revise your rough draft. I'm going to grade the ones from week 4 as quickly as I can this week so that you have some feedback, and use your rubric to guide your work because there are questions that are asked there that you need to make sure that you have answered, that you have covered. Okay, that's very important this week. So look at that and use that as your guide to do your work this week. Those are just some cute little wood ducks that I saw this past spring at Magnolia Plantation in Charleston. Aren't they so cute? Wood ducks are so cool anyway. All right, and then my tip of the week is to use the feedback from me to improve your work. Don't just ignore the feedback that I give because I write out what I give you suggestions and I give you tips and I give you my feedback about what you've done, your work, and what you need to improve on. So please do that because all the work that you're doing on this project is building and building and building. And if you never look at the feedback, when you get to the end, there are going to be some issues. So please use your feedback. And that is true in any of the courses at SNHU because a lot of these courses are online. And those of you who are taking this type of course are probably all online students. You need to look at that feedback in order to improve your work. So please do that. And as usual, if you have any questions during the week, if you're having any issues whatsoever and can't get your work done, please let me know. Here's my email address, m.sigmon@snhu.edu. And with that being said, I hope that you have a wonderful week this week.